Hi, Rupert.
Laura, hello.
Hi, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you
Um,
again.
okay, well, my question kind of follows on from Sophia's. Really brief bit of background. Basically, when I was 7 years old, my grandfather died, and it really hit me like a bus at that time. I mean, I was really young, and I didn't really feel like I could talk to anyone about it. But I was terrified. It suddenly occurred to me that we would all die. That would actually happen to me too. This was actually a thing. Up until that point, I just kind of assumed we kind of carried on forever. Anyway, so that's been an ongoing struggle, I suppose, periodically throughout my life. Now I'm not terrified in quite the same way in that, I understand we're consciousness. Obviously back then I didn't didn't know anything about that. I was just a really scared little girl. But it was quite, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that because, from my perspective, that seems fairly rare that someone's so young. I used to look at people and kind of go, well, none of this matters. None of this is real. It's not permanent. It's not, it's all going to end. But anyway, so I suppose that brings me over to my real question, which is, I understand that what is never born or was never brought into existence never dies or never disappears. But what's it like? So when this body mind kind of comes to its natural conclusion, is there experience? Being still exists, but obviously, I guess potentially not in a concentrated form. And I realise you might not be able to answer that, but I'd still like to hear your thoughts.
Laura, I don't want to speculate about what takes place after the death of the body, but I don't feel that that's really your real question. What I feel is your real question is the fear of death that you first felt as a 7-year-old girl that has perhaps not completely left you and is therefore responsible for your interest in what might happen. I think the fear of death is underneath that interest, and that you're looking to have your fear of death assuaged by the knowledge that something pleasant might happen after death. That would put your fear of death to rest. But I would suggest that if you want your fear of death to be put permanently and completely to rest, that you sink into your being. That's what will give you relief from the fear of death. And me describing it, or let alone someone describing what may or may not take place after death, is just, it's like giving you a lollipop to suck on to distract you from your fear for 10 minutes. You don't want that. You want permanent relief from the fear of death. There's only one way to get it: sink into your being.
You're absolutely right, and obviously I still have those times in the middle of the night when I'm frightened. But even as a 7-year-old, it wasn't like I wondered or cared particularly if it was pleasant. This idea of heaven didn't really cut it for me, because I
Yes.
thought, well, we're just going to sit
Yes.
in the garden forever. Or
But
it's the fear that there's just nothing.
yes, but it's
There's
a beautiful
out of existence.
it's a beautiful experience to have had at aged 7. Plenty of people aged 7 have their grandparents, and occasionally their parents die, and it's the first crack in our worldview, and it's most of us cover it over again, or quite quickly, or we're encouraged to. But it's beautiful that in you, it wasn't covered over. It kept alive in you. It made you ask questions. That's beautiful, and those questions have kept alive in you. They're probably responsible for your interest in truth now.
Yeah, no, thank you. I am essentially grateful for it, though obviously it wasn't very pleasant at the time. But yeah, okay, well, I'll have to take your advice and continue sinking into my being.
I'm not meaning to suggest that it's not legitimate to speculate about what takes place after death. It is. It's very interesting to do so, particularly as Sophia began to say, under the model that considers consciousness primary. and matter a phase of consciousness rather than the other way around. It's very interesting to speculate what the experience of death is under that model, because our normal models of death are predicated on the materialist assumption. But I don't want to go into speculation. I want to stick with experience. But I don't mean to say it's not valid to consider those things.
Okay.
Nice to see you again, Laura.
You too. Thank you, Rupert. Bye.